there are some names that we're not talking about for BC football that are going to have a major impact on the 2025 season.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to turbotax.com today and get matched up with your tax experts. Now, practice is going on, and we have lots to talk about. And every spring we get to talk about and discuss some players who we already know are going to be big factors. I mean, this spring you could talk about Grayson James, even Dylan Lonergan, Lewis Bond, Logan Taylor, Turbo. There's guys all over this roster that we talk about them for the last 2 months. The purpose of this episode is to dive deeper. If you're interested on players that may jump up, players that may have a bigger impact than you expect, this is going to be your episode for you. And this is part 1 of 2, because today we're going to talk about the offensive players that we're not talking about enough. Additionally, we're going to give you a little bit of recruiting news that you're going to get to wet your palate. So I'll end the show with that as well. Now, we're looking for the offense. The first player, I want to go with the wide receivers first. As I mentioned to kick this whole thing off, everyone knows who probably the top 3 wide receivers are going to be on this unit. It's going to be Jaden Skeet, Lewis Bond, and Reed Harris. And they're going to suck up a lot of oxygen in terms of how much we discuss them on the show, how much they're going to play. They're probably going to take a bunch of snaps. They're going to additionally, be the one. I mean, Reed Harris, of course, is going to be a big deal. But there's other players that we're not. And this episode, I had 2, but I'm gonna eliminate 1. The first one I was going to discuss, and I was thinking about it, was Jonathan Montague. I think he may have a bigger role than people are expecting this year, but I'm going to put him to the side for today because I have one that I think, honestly, we should be talking about more, and that is VJ Rocket Wilkins. This is the transfer from Campbell who had 1,200 total yards, I believe, over the last 2 seasons. He's had a lot of touchdowns. Now, his nickname is Rocket for a reason. This guy is going to be a playmaker. And I'm not sure how big of a role he will play, but just remember where the wide receiver room was at the end of last year. You were trotting out Dino Tomlin, Jonathan Montague, and your usual guys because they were running out of healthy wide receivers. So just like football is a sport where people get hurt, it's going to happen. VJ, I imagine, even without injuries, is going to play. He's going to play. They're going to find ways to get him into the game. But how much will that be? And if there is a guy, God forbid, this position, I do not, knock on wood as hard as I can that no one gets hurt here. Wilkins, if that happens, is going to have to play a bigger role. Now, he's experienced. That's the part I love about the transfers that BC is bringing in, that they have 2 real factors to them. If you've been to a practice or seen a spring game, the freshmen that come in, they take some conditioning to get them to where they need to be at the collegiate level. It takes a while. They've also not really played much at game speed. That's a big deal. Additionally, sometimes you get guys that you bring in from transfers that really haven't played much at all and have spent most of their time, with the scout unit or the third team and haven't played much. VJ Wilkins has played extensively over the last 2 years. He's in year 3. He's college ready, and I'm sure BC wants to get him more college ready. But this is a guy that they just need to work with a little bit, and he's going to be where they need him to be. I think he's going to play a role, and I'm very interested in as well to see what he does on special teams because Jonathan Montague played it last year. They used him a lot and Isaiah Ferris a lot. Will Wilkins kind of jump in there? That's going to be something worth watching. Montague is explosive too, but I have the sense that once we get to see what VJ Wilkins can do, he's going to bring it to a whole nother level. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited to see, with Grayson James or Dylan Lonigan, whoever the quarterback is going to be, what can VJ Wilkins do? He's someone we need to talk about more, and I can't wait to see what he does in practice this year. Now, let's go to the quarterback, because this is the big one, right? Who is the quarterback? We've been talking extensively about Dylan Lonigan and Jacoby Robinson, Grayson James, who are going to potentially be battling. And from all reports from practice, it sounds like the two of them have already been battling, and they both have done well. They look ready. So who is the one we're not talking about enough? I'm going to say, honestly, I would say Jacoby Robinson for a sense, but I don't think that's going to be the answer. For me, another reason why we need to talk about him more, this is for a different reason, is Shaker Risig. Shaker Risig and his development is going to be absolutely critical this spring. So this kind of bucks the trend, because at quarterback, we're talking about all these guys all the time. But I feel like watching, like, when you go to a practice, you get to watch the ones and twos, the threes and fours are off in the other spots. So you're going to see a lot of Larnigan, you're going to see a lot of Grayson James, and maybe a smattering of Jacoby Robinson in there. But Shaker is going to be off in his own zone. While you want to watch the ones and twos, because those are the guys that are going to be doing a lot of the work, it's important that we hear more about what Risig is doing. How is he looking out there? How's the ball coming out of his hand? Is he making good throws? Is he missing? Is he not seeing what he needs to do? Again, it's super early right now. They're just, they're going to be doing basic things at this point. 7v7s at times, and, a lot of just drills. But, I think this year, this is going to give us a taste of what Shaker Risig can do. Jacoby Robinson, for instance, it took him a while, and he's still, I'm not sure where he's at. Like, they're very positive about him, and they should be. Maybe he had, from what I heard, I was talking to Mike Sidley about his performance the other day. He had some good throws in there, but will he be collegiate ready? Like, is that going to be the case? Because, like, moving forward, I still project out that it's going to be Risig and Lonigan next year as the potential starters. I'm not sure where Robinson will be in that, and maybe he will be. Maybe I'm not giving him enough respect, and that's not what I'm here for. But I'm looking at Risig. This is his first collegiate, camp. This is his first time working with a collegiate offense with Will Lawing and Jonathan DiBiaso. What can he do? What is his ceiling? Are we going to see flashes already? That's a key right there. This just to see him develop, because I don't expect him. I fully expect that Risig will probably redshirt this year. That we're not going to hear from him. We're not going to see him. You guys are not going to see him. You'll see him at practice, but you won't get to see him here. And is he going to be able to continue to make throws? How mobile is he? I mean, like, I that's a big question. Like, every quarterback that BC has is mobile to an extent. They're not like Thomas Castellanos mobile, but they're not like Tom Brady mobile, where you're watching like an injured horse gallop. They all can move. So I'm curious to see what Risig can do there. That's another player I'm watching for. Now, in our second segment, I want to get into the tight ends, offensive line, and running back. I got 3 that I get into, and I got some good ones for you. Don't miss out on this. We'll be back to you in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I build budget smarter and save more. So take control of your finances and use Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnCollege for half off your first year. Eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. With Factor, you get chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. Factor meals arrive fresh, never frozen, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences, each week you can customize your menu to fit your goals, whether that's calorie smart, protein plus, or keto. I have no time to do anything. I'm always busy. I have kids. I need food fast, and I need to prepare it fast. And that's where Factor comes in. Also offers smoothies, breakfast, and snacks, so my days are all planned out. So eat smart with Factor. Get smart started at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast and use code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off free shipping on your first box. Locked on Boston College. Sorry about that little technical delay there. We just had a glitch that happened on our end. Now, we're talking about the positions here and the players that are not getting talked about enough because when we're looking at the offense, there it's easy to get locked into some players, but things happen. It's the way football works. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, let's look at the running back. There's two names everyone is talking about: Turbo Richard and Jordan McDonald. And I want to give a preview of this. Isn't even for spring ball, of one player I think that we could be talking more about when it comes to the fall, and that is Bo McCormick, who's enrolling in the fall. So he's not going to be here for spring ball, but this isn't completely a spring ball episode. This is a AJ wants to talk about some guys just for the fall episode. Now, Bo is one of the best running backs to ever come out of the state of Massachusetts and is a workhorse. This is a guy that could be the future BC running back, like a guy that you can run the ball. I mean, watch what he did at BBNN because this guy ran the ball. I was surprised how much they used him. I'm sure Bill O'Brien was on the phone with them going, "Hey guys, can you chill on like running him 40 times a game?" Because Bo McCormick can do that. Bo McCormick, is a physical, hard running back. And you have a lot on your roster. But I have to wonder, you got guys that you're slotting into different spots. You have, your top two is probably going to be Jordan McDonald and Turbo. You have your third down back, Alex Broom. You have Dottrell Jones kind of floating in there too. He's going to be battling McCormick and Mekhi Dodd. There's your running back room right now. You have other guys like Vaughn Pemberton. We're not sure what he's going to do yet. But I look at what Bo could do. What's our biggest question on Turbo Richard right now? It's his health. He's been hurt a bunch. And hopefully this is not going to happen this spring. But again, running backs it's a violent position. It happens. One of these guys something could happen. I wonder if we see Bo McCormick at some point this year. That running back is a position that in the past we saw Turbo do the exact same thing last year, where they go into fall, they impress during camp, and then something happens that pushes them onto the playing field. Any of these guys, this could happen to, either getting hurt or play. But I have to wonder if Bo could be that guy, if Bo could take advantage of this and become the next starting running back, or not even talk about like starting. Could he be a guy that just plays a lot or gets 10, 12 carries a game? I think it's a decent possibility that this could be something we're looking at. Now, tight end. Tight end has two guys, a veteran and a transfer that we discussed here at length. Ty Lockwood, who by all accounts looks very much like a starting tight end, and Jeremiah Franklin, who has wowed me every single year with the amount of development that he's made. It's been a great journey in seeing how solid he's becoming. He's one of the better ACC tight ends. One we really don't talk about enough, but it isn't about Jeremiah Franklin because we here at Locked On Boston College are very pro Jeremiah Franklin. We are here to talk about Zeke Moore. Yes, the second transfer that we are bringing in to discuss. This is the kid from FAU, and I saw pictures of him. He is not the biggest dude at BC, but I feel like he's going to play a role here. And I look at other tight ends that BC have had in the past, and I could see if Bill O'Brien wants to bring back that kind of spot, that Zeke Moore could fit it and be really good at it. And that is the role of someone like Korab Adrizzi, Ray Martin, those second tight ends, the ones that aren't the big play catching tight ends, the ones that do a lot of blocking. They look almost like a fullback a lot of the times, but they do a lot. I mean, Korab Adrizzi had some big plays, I believe, when Steve Adazio was here, if I remember correctly. I could see Zeke doing a lot of that. And that is that's a valuable spot. That's a spot they need somebody that can do that kind of stuff. I believe last year we saw a lot of that with, I think Mitch is going to tell me I'm wrong, but I believe Jeremiah Franklin and Kamari Morales both kind of did a little bit of that. I think it was more Morales at the end, but he's not the biggest dude. This is not a tight end in the style of, Trey Berry. Trey Berry's humongous, but even like Kamari Morales or, well, actually, it's more like, I think Kamari Morales is only about an inch bigger. So I think this is they have something here. I think that Zeke Moore is a big physical tight end. I've heard from people that were watching practices and said this guy can move. He's not slow. He's not a slow guy. Tight ends are not the fastest guy, and I don't think he's going to be the fastest guy. But he's not like an offensive lineman running around out there. He's got some wheels. So I think Zeke Moore. That's my number two. And, I honestly also almost wanted to put, someone like Ryan Boltwood, because I'm curious to see what he does, but I'm not sure if I'm there yet with him. He might take another year. Now, finally, offensive line. Who are the guys on offensive line that we've talked about and discussed on this show a lot? It's Logan Taylor, Jude Bowery, and Dwayne Alec. We've talked about him a lot. So who's one that we have not? That's Kevin Klein. Kevin Klein is one offensive lineman that I think is going to have a very critical role this year. And honestly, if you were to ask me right now, is he going to play guard? Is he going to play tackle? I would put my hands up and go, I don't know. But that's the best part of this. That's the reason why I put Kevin Klein here, is he is a veteran who's been around forever. He can play guard. He can play tackle. And so when we're talking about filling out this offensive line, he is one of those guys that A, you could fit in anywhere, B, has experience everywhere, and C, has the flexibility to do a lot of things. So I think that Kevin Klein is one that we haven't brought up a lot. And it's just because, in years past, he hasn't had the best time in terms of development. Like he's struggled at times. Obviously, 2022. I mean, Ozzie Trapillo and Drew Kendall struggled that year. I'm not going to put that on Kevin Klein, but past then, he has struggled. But I argue to look because I believe he's on the Matt Applebaum developmental trajectory that you want, where he started off really, really raw, like a lot of offensive linemen went. In 2023, we saw him kind of get there, but was still struggling. 2024, he was much better. 2025, maybe he's serviceable. Kind of like what Jack Conley did, right? Jack Conley started off really struggling, and he was decent by the time he left. Like he was solid. So I think Kevin Klein could do that. I'm positive about Kevin Klein here, and I'm very interested to see what he does. All these other players that we're talking about, we're not mentioning him enough. So he's one that I got my eyeballs on, and one that you should too. So there you go. The offense. I gave you five guys that you should be looking at. I could have given you more, but these are players that don't get brought up in conversations. That when you get to Alumni Stadium in September, you're getting ready for that Fordham game. You got your playbill. What am I talking about? This is theater? No, you got your game. I can't even think of the name of it. I'm totally blanking here. You go put in your whatever, but it has all your rosters. I don't know that they even give these things out anymore. But it has your rosters, and you're looking at like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Um, you now know some names that may pop up, and you're like, whoa, AJ told me about that guy. Remember, it was on Locked On BC. And you could you could also go in the comments and make fun of me for not remembering what the name of the that thing is that I can't keep. My brain is just not coming up with right now. So in a moment, a big school in the South has a official visitor coming to Boston College, and I am pumped about this one. We'll get into who this is in just a moment. This is a message from sponsored Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates as their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything else with 100% guarantee, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now at turbotax.com. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. And when you are done this episode, if this is a big if, have you gone and listened to every episode this week? If you haven't, that should be your next listen. If you have, if you've devoured every episode of Locked On Boston College, I want you to check out Locked On ACC with Alex Dono and Kenton Gibbs. It's going to get you ready for the March Madness, something Boston College is not part of this year. So go enjoy it. I have to, because I need to find out more for my brackets, but because my brackets are going to be brutal. They always, actually, I was pretty good last year, but I'm going to do even better this year. I say that, I'm going to probably end up in last, but that's still whatever. Now, official visit season. There's guys that I know about that, I'm waiting for them to announce. Carter Gooden was one that I was waiting for. Femi Babalola, Henry Ollinger. There's all these recruits that, if you've been following along on Eagle Insider or on this podcast, you knew they were coming. They're no surprise, but surprises do happen. The coaching staff, sometimes they do things in secret. Wide receiving coach Darryl White is a big one. Sometimes the guys that he brings in come completely out of nowhere. But this isn't about the offensive line; it's the defensive line. And I'm curious, once we hear more from this player, how much Jordan Thomas, the new defensive line coach, had to do with this, because this is going down to the state of Florida and IMG Academy. If you know college football, you know IMG Academy. This place is a factory of college football players. BC's had one player from there, and he never played a snap here. Actually, they have two. Juan Zabal, the one that just got the scholarship at linebacker, he was one, and he's very valuable. But the other one I was making a joke about was Elijah Krasnovic. We never saw him play. But I'm looking here at a defensive tackle, and this is Carmelo McKenzie. He is a defensive tackle, obviously from IMG Academy. He's the first non-Massachusetts defensive lineman that I know of on the defensive tackle side that's coming here. And he has only one other official visit set up, and that is I believe it's to NC State. So he's got two. Now, why am I excited about this? Well, first of all, anyone coming from IMG Academy, they have a leg up on things. Second, we need some defensive tackles. This is a position that I'm worried about, because after this year, you're losing a vast majority of your depth, and any experience is going to be going out the window. George Rooks is gone. Quan Williams is gone. Ty Clemens is gone. Cedarius McConnell is gone. I believe you're basically down to, the bare bones. I think Owen Stodmeyer is gone. Like, you're losing a ton of talent. This is going to be a position we'll be talking about in November of, hey, we got to enter Chuck Nato, the new transfer, he's going to be gone. So I think it's 5 or 6 defensive tackles that are leaving. You brought in 2. London Seymour did not end up enrolling at Boston College. Not sure where he's ending up, but he's not here. But you ended up with 2. You need to get more. This is the first defensive tackle. And the fact that he's not rated yet, but he's got a good offer list. Like Auburn's offered. You have Iowa State, West Virginia, Syracuse, Penn State, NC State. Like he's got a good offer list. This is a good player, and one I'm just excited. I'm like this is the first time IMG Academy has been mentioned with Bill O'Brien. So glad to see that they're getting involved there. For visitor lists, there's some names that are going to probably pop up from there. They're going to get new offers. Come over to Eagle Insider. We have it all over there. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.